Hey guys, happy Friday. Um, this week I wanted to talk a little bit about, I don't know if you guys have heard, there's a poem out there that people tend to either talk about at funerals or they talk about at, I don't even know where you would hear it. Like it's one of those inspirational poems that you hear, and it's called The Dash. Um, I went to a funeral this week of someone I didn't know. I never met this person once in my life, but they were very close to one of our good friends and families that we know. So I obviously went to support them. And it was really interesting because it's one thing to know someone, like know the person that you're going to the funeral for, but it's very different to go to a funeral where you don't know the person, because the way that people talk about them and the legacy that they've left is always very interesting. You hear, people get up and they share on their life and things that that person has done for them. And for the most part, I've all the funerals I've usually been to, like rarely anyone really gets up and talks. Like you give that time to people to share memories, or we did it at my dad's celebration of life service, and a few people shared, and it was great. But what stood out to me the most in this service was the amount of people that were, and I arrived late, so they were already in the process of this when I got there. And it was like person after person after person after person talking about this gentleman and what an impact he had in their lives and what they remembered the most about him. And my friend's mom read this poem. I think it's called The Dash. But basically, if you haven't heard of it, it's, talking about, there's a start to our lives and then there's an end to our lives, but that dash in between. So it's like, born this year and then passed that year. And then there's that dash in between. And that's like what matters the most, is what's in between that beginning and the end. And one of the things that really struck me about this man um, was how loved everyone around him felt by him. He was a very godly man. A lot of people spoke about that. His grandkids, his kids, his adopted family, he had so many adopted kids throughout their lives. And it was just so touching and beautiful to hear all these stories about him. I mean, he sounded hilarious. One of the kids stood up and was talking about how one time he gave them, or at least him, like a block of ice with money in it, and said, "Oh, that's giving you cold hard cash." And I must have been louder than I expected to be, and I was like, "Oh, this sounds like my kind of guy." And someone behind me just chuckled and was like, "Yeah, he was really amazing." And it really just makes me want to be more intentional about my, not so much my legacy here, but like, what do I want people to remember about me? Like, what do I want to leave behind? And, you know, for me, one of the things that I really want everyone to say about me was like, she might have been a little spicy sometimes, but before all things, it's like, obviously I want to be said I was a great wife and I was a great friend, but like, I truly want my legacy to be like, she loved Jesus. and she tried her hardest to be a good representation of Christ. And it made me think of the verse that we used for my cousin when he passed. I'm just starting to print them out now because it's easier. But I'm going to read a little bit more than just that specific verse because I thought it was good. But it was 2 Timothy 4, and I'll read 1 through 8. And it says, I solemnly urge you in the presence of God and Jesus Christ, who will who will someday judge the living and the dead when he comes to set up his kingdom. Preach the word of God. Be prepared whether the time is favorable or not. Patiently correct, rebuke, and encourage your people with good teaching. For a time is coming when people will no longer listen to the sound and wholesome teaching. Who will no longer listen to sound and wholesome teaching. I think that's pretty much today. They will follow their own desires and will look for teachers who will tell them whatever their itching ears want to hear. They will reject the truth and chase after myths. But you should keep a clear mind in every situation. Don't be afraid of suffering for the Lord. Work at telling others the good news and fully carrying out the ministry God has given you. As for me, my life has already been poured out as an offering to God. The time of my death is near. I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race, and I have remained faithful. And now the prize awaits me, the crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will give me on the day of his return. And the prize is not just for me, but all who eagerly look forward to his appearing. I do want to finish well. I'm not an exercise person. I hate it. I love people that love to work out and that love running, and I'm not a competitive person. That gene never hit my body. But I do want to finish this race of life well. I want people to, when they think of me, the first thing that they remember, besides my strikingly good looks, no, just kidding. I want them to see the love that I had for Christ and my desire to love people as Christ loved. And that's really hard. I mean, let's be honest, some people be testing your nerves, but I want to love like him. I want people to be able to stand up at my funeral and just repeat over and over and over again, like how much I loved the Lord and how I showed them the love of Christ and how everything that I did. I mean, this gentleman, when he came into the church, he took his shoes off because there's a part in Exodus where Moses basically encounters God, and God says to him, like, Moses, take your sandals off, for you're on holy ground. And every time he walked into the church for service, he encountered God, and to him that was holy. So he always took his shoes off, and there were shoes on his casket. And like those types of things, like what an amazing testimony, like what an amazing life. Like I'm sure I know he wasn't perfect, but I'm sure he had trials and struggles and things that didn't go his way. And I'm sure he failed at things, but of that entire sanctuary, and there were hundreds of people there, and it was just one after the other, after the other, after the other, was just talking about like his faithfulness to Christ and the way he shared with others and the way he loved, and he literally fed people 30, 40 at a clip. And what an amazing dash, to have. There's nothing more in this world that I would want. than to have that type of dash. And I think the Lord has just been pressing on me lately. You know, we don't know when the end of the world is coming. You know, we don't know. I mean, God could come back any day. But what am I doing with this time that I have? I mean, I could live a very long life. The Lord will never come back for me. The end of the world isn't coming in my lifetime. I don't know. It could come tomorrow. It can come 1,000 years from now. But I want to make the time that I have intentional, and I want to live my dash well, and I want to run my race well, because it'll probably be the only race I ever run in my life. And I personally think that's a pretty important race. So that's all I have. I'm trying to keep these videos shorter. I'm trying to keep it like 15 minutes or less if I can. So I will just end it there. So how are you running your race? Are you even in a race? Are you just absorbing and sitting, and you're not using the gifts God gave you, and you're just not doing anything with yourself? It's like, I go to church on Sunday and that's it, and that's all God and I ever talk. I just challenge you, like, think about your race and how you want your dash, what you want it to look like. Do you want it to be, full of beautiful testimonies of how you loved and how you served well and how others around you were blessed by your life, by how you lived, by your marriages, by your children? I mean, obviously, I know kids have a mind of their own, but for the most part, how did you live your life? Because we're not promised tomorrow, and anything can happen. So that's pretty much all I have. I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I'll just pray us out, and then I'll be done. Jesus, I thank you for this beautiful life that you've given me. It can be complicated, it can be hard, it can be all sorts of crazy, but overall, Lord, it is a beautiful life, and I'm blessed with so many things. And I just want my dash to be meaningful, and I want to shine for you, and I want to be a reflection of your love. So if there's anything in me that needs to be burned away, I just pray that you just take it. Keep molding me into what you want. And Lord, just shine through me and help me in the areas that I'm weak. I pray over my friends and family that are watching. I love them all. And I just thank you for another day. Any day above ground is a great day. I lift up my church. I lift up our friends that are struggling right now, Lord, with some loss. I just pray that you give them peace. And for the others that I did not mention by name, I pray that you give them healing from pain. And I just thank you for each one of them. In your name I pray. Amen. All right, guys. Love you so much. Have a great week.